Africa is the second largest continent on this planet, with 1.4 billion people, which is 17.5% of world's population. It has a total of 54 countries that have a nominal GDP of just $3 trillion. Picture this, with 17.5% of world's population, Africa only contributes 3% to the global GDP. 10 years back, Africa was the world's poorest inhabited continent. Still, the World Bank said that it'll reach middle-income status by 2025. After this, some economists even claimed it to be Asian and African century. We don't know about Asia, but it won't be Africa's century. If you want to know why Africa will remain poor in 21st century, that's exactly what we are going to talk in this video, so stick till the end and subscribe to our channel. African history was wealthy, as empires like ancient Egypt, Nubia, Mali, Ashanti, the Oyo and ancient Carthage Empire were culturally and economically prosperous. But it went to ruins in 19th and 20th century. With the decolonization of Africa in the 20th century, its growth story started again. Lot of companies started investing in Africa in the start of 21st century. In 2013, Africa was home to 7 of the world's fastest growing economies. Mauritania and Angola's GDP grew over 15% during that period. Major cities like Cairo, Johannesburg, Nairobi, and Cape Town were holding the beacon of economic prosperity. And then, COVID happened. Preventive measures such as border closures, restrictions on movement, and the disruption of supply chains put a brake on Africa's growth. Price hikes in the markets left small-time entrepreneurs unable to sustain their livelihoods. African market is still unorganized, comprising small traders, street vendors, and casual workers. Lockdowns broke their back. This negatively affected the food security, nutrition intake. Just between 2019 and 2021 alone, 3% of Western Africans were pushed into extreme poverty. The government's and NGOs' efforts were insufficient. By the end of 2022, just 11% of the population is vaccinated. Experts believe COVID has eroded an entire decade of progress in Africa. As Africans were trying to steer in the new COVID world, another calamity hit them. And it hit them where it hurt the most. Locust outbreak happened in Eastern Africa in 2019. Locust was Africa's problem for decades, but it used to be primarily in the Horn of Africa, but this time, the outbreak is the worst. Kenya has the worst outbreak of 70 years. Ethiopia, Somalia hasn't seen such a locust infestation in 25 years. 70,000 hectares of land in Kenya alone were infested. 20 million people are facing severe acute food insecurity. COVID hampered the efforts to control the locusts, preventing the transport of pesticides, equipment, and personnel. This has threatened the food supply across the regions of East Africa, the Arabian Peninsula. Africa has received around $200 million to control locusts, but it's not enough. Even today, there is no solid plan to control locust infestation for now. If not controlled on time, this will severely affect Africa's food security for years to come. Another major problem is political instability. Africa has long suffered from political instability, and the world hoped it to end with the Arab Spring in 2010. But Africa's politics doesn't seem to stabilize. Since the beginning of 2015, the continent has experienced over 27 leadership changes. States such as Chad, Guinea, Mali, and Sudan are still dealing with the aftermath of the military coups that occurred in the last 18 months. Such a messy political state is stalling trade, investment, and infra development in the region. The widespread corruption, lack of institutional accountability and rule of law, and the high levels of political uncertainty are all a deterrent for growth to standard of living of the inhabitants. COVID, food insecurity, and political instability have led to increasing forced migration trends. East Africa alone saw 3.4 million more forced migrants in 2021, a significant increase from 2020, mostly because of an increase in internal displacement. Increased conflict, together with climate-induced disasters across the continent, could drive many more Africans to migrate. This massive exodus is a constant challenge for NGOs and governments to plan for workforces, COVID and other vaccination drives, and food distribution drive. We all know Africa has huge potential. It has many natural resources which are waiting to be explored, but for now it seems like Africa has lost the track in 21st century. Let us know in the comments what Africans should do to improve their future. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to watch more videos like this, please subscribe and turn on that notification bell.